Hi there. Let's have a chat about the new moon in Sagittarius happening on December 1st. This is a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. And whenever we see a moon in the sign of Sagittarius, we're talking about this deep need to experience lots of different types of experiences, to get to see lots of different circumstances and situations in life, get to experience different cultures, different situations. And not just for the sake of curiosity or exploration, but for this sort of more abstract goal of gathering all those experiences and being able to use them to make a philosophy as to why we're here and what life is all about, and a philosophy on how we want to live our life with meaning and purpose. If you've been watching these horoscopes for some time now, you will most likely know already that a new moon is all about a new beginning. During a new moon, we might feel like we're starting something fresh, and that might be because we're getting new sorts of ideas or new sorts of experiences that are reinvigorating us in a certain area of our life. And especially with this new moon in Sagittarius, you might be getting some new ideas, new philosophies as to how you can live a meaningful life. And they might be coming in through the experiences that you get to live and the different situations that you get to experience. One important aspect about this new moon in Sagittarius is that the moon will be out of bounds. And whenever we see an out of bounds moon, we are talking about breaking out of society's mold. For this new moon in Sagittarius, it could mean that these new experiences or new ideas that you're having about the purpose of your life, how you can bring meaning into your life, are maybe a little bit different from what society expects of you, maybe even a little bit different from what society would consider normal. And then finally, it's good to mention that this new moon in Sagittarius is also a slow moon. The moon is moving a little bit slower than it usually does. Because of this, you might find that the inspirations or experiences are something that come slowly, or if they do happen, you're not able to abstract and gain the wisdom from those experiences very quickly, but rather it takes some time to digest, it takes some time to think about them, to process them, and then you might see this vigor and excitement and this abstraction that Sagittarius can bring slowly come into the picture. Before we move on to the horoscopes, I want to highlight one important aspect about this moon in Sagittarius and what it could look like on the more challenging end. Because my belief with astrology is that nothing is ever black and white. There isn't one placement that's all good and one placement that's all bad. And therefore, also with this new moon in Sagittarius, there could be a very positive manifestation of it, which is what we had just talked about. But there's a likelihood of it having a more challenging manifestation as well. And that's what I wanted to highlight. For this new moon in Sagittarius, one word of caution is to be careful not to put your ideas and opinions and beliefs above everything else to the point that you're hurting other people. And I know that I'm not saying that would come intentionally. Sometimes we're just not aware of it. But what can happen sometimes, in the sign of Sagittarius is that we're so firm in our beliefs that sometimes we tend to be a bit dogmatic, and we tend to abstract things too much and forget that perhaps in this specific situation, somebody just needs our love, and it's not that philosophical or that purposeful, and somebody just might need a hug, for example. But let's get into the rising sign horoscopes so that you can know exactly what to expect for this new moon in Sagittarius. We start off with Aries rising or Aries sun signs. And on December 1st, the new moon will be happening in your 9th house of travel, education, and the legal system. So you're most likely experiencing some sort of adventures there. Maybe you are you're experiencing something new in your travels, going to a country you've never been to before, being faced with a language you've never faced before. And because of this experience, this adventure, you are also finding a lot of meaning and purpose in these activities. It's somehow enriching your life and helping you add a larger, more abstract, philosophical view to your life. Because this is an out of bounds moon, you might be doing things that others would judge or think are a little bit strange, and you might feel ostracized for it. Next up, we have Taurus rising and Taurus sun signs. And for Tauruses, the new moon in Sagittarius is taking place in the 8th house. Tauruses will be experiencing a reinvigoration, a new chapter when it comes to their intimacy and their vulnerability. It could be that they're getting new, fresh ideas that just seem to come out of nowhere, sort of like inspired ideas that perhaps can deepen their intimacy and their vulnerability with their partner. These ideas might initially seem a bit strange to your partner. Maybe they're not as open to it because they just seem so out there. But keep in mind that your partner just might need time to get warmed up to the ideas. And the word of caution with the Sagittarius moon is remember not to be too dogmatic and too stuck on your opinion, and to also remember to step out of that and just look at the person that's sitting in front of you as a human being with feelings and needs of their own. For Gemini risings and Gemini sun signs, the new moon on December 1st is taking place in your relationship house or the 7th house. You are turning a new page when it comes to your relationship, and you might especially have new ideas, a sense of invigoration, of things you want to try out with your partner, things you want to do together, habits that you want to start, maybe a certain dynamic that you would like to start playing out in the relationship. This might be a strange idea to your partner initially. You might feel like you're a bit judged for it at the beginning, but do remember to give your partner some time so that they can warm up to this exciting new idea. But the good news about this new moon in Sagittarius is that whatever is happening in your relationship is helping you give a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning during this time. For Cancer risings and Cancer sun signs, the new moon is taking place in the 6th house. This could mean that you have some exciting ideas about your health, about your day-to-day routine, or maybe even about how you can be of service to others. Be very mindful that this service does not include forcing your opinion or your belief system on others. Try to remember that sometimes the sign of Sagittarius can get carried away, viewing their belief or their idea as the ultimate truth and not allowing for any leeway. And keep in mind that this service that you are ready to offer, others may not be ready to receive yet. The moon is out of bounds during this new moon. So you could be feeling a bit judged or ostracized from people because of this service that you want to offer, because of the help that you want to bring to them. But overall, the good news is that you should be feeling inspired and motivated, and it might even feel like you have potentially found a purpose with your life. For Leo risings and Leo sun signs, the new moon is taking place in the 5th house. During this new moon, you might be having new experiences where you get to express yourself. New experiences where it feels just like your inner child is thriving and you feel like you're able to express this sort of childlike innocence. And when you're getting to express this part of yourself, you might find that it's also helping you abstract, zoom out, and start to be able to view all the patterns in your life and start to see the bigger picture. And if I could even go far as to say, start to see the meaning and purpose of your life. Be very mindful that because the moon is out of bounds, the way you're expressing yourself might be judged by society because it might just seem really out there, might seem really weird, and something that might not be ready for yet. Next, let's talk about Virgo risings and Virgo sun signs. For Virgos, on December 1st, the new moon will be taking place in their 4th house. You might be feeling a new revelation when it comes to your familial relationships, maybe your home, and maybe even your emotional inner world. You might be getting some ideas about how you can bring this new spirit into your family dynamics, how you can bring a new spirit into the emotional patterns that you have playing inside. Keep in mind, because this is quite a relational house, it has all to do with our family and our roots. Sometimes the sign of Sagittarius can tend to put their opinions and beliefs at the highest level, and sometimes that can come at expense of people's feelings. So just be very mindful, even if your family might be finding hard to accept these new ideas, even if that might be giving you the feeling that you're, sort of being ostracized or judged by your family. Keep in mind that at the end of the day, they are still humans with their own feelings. For Libra risings and Libra sun signs, the new moon will be taking place in the 3rd house. During this new moon, Libras might feel inspired when it comes to their communication. It might feel like they're starting a new chapter, a chapter where they can perhaps express their beliefs a lot more openly. A chapter where they can perhaps start teaching others about beliefs, about these larger, more abstract questions of life, maybe even writing about these beliefs. Because the moon is out of bounds, though, keep in mind that society or the world, your peers, may not be ready to hear what you have to say, may not like what you have to say, because what you have to say might be just too unique from what they have experienced up until this point, might be too challenging to their own belief systems. So do keep in mind that it's important that you express yourself. You're going to find a lot of meaning and purpose there, but you might also not be met with the most warmth or the most acceptance from others. Next up, we have Scorpio rising and Scorpio sun signs. And for Scorpios, the new moon takes place in the 2nd house. The 2nd house is the house of finances. So Scorpios might find themselves having new experiences, new financial experiences, and maybe even getting new inspired ideas for how they could make money, how they could take care of themselves financially. One word of caution is that during the new moon, we have a lot of ideas, a lot of new ideas, but sometimes those ideas can have a sense of nativity to them, as in they're naive or can be naive. So do be mindful that you might not necessarily want to act right away on these new ideas, especially when we're talking about finances. We want to be considerate as to how crazy we go with the new ideas. A second word of caution for this new moon, Scorpios, is that the moon is out of bounds. So others might find these ideas, these experiences you're having as something that's quite strange. They might judge you for it. They might think you're crazy for doing them. But keep in mind that all of this energy, time you're spending focusing on your finances should be bringing you a sense of meaning and purpose into your life. Let's talk about Sagittarius rising and Sagittarius sun signs. Congrats, Sagittarius. This new moon is happening in your first house. So you might feel like there's a new fire that has started to burn that is all about your identity and how you present yourself to the world. You might feel much more invigorated on how you show up, perhaps how you speak, how you dress, how you carry yourself, and on a larger level, how you lead others, how you let yourself stand out as a unique individual. Because the moon is out of bounds, keep in mind that others might see this new identity, this new expression, and think you're weird, think you are out of your mind and doing something that nobody has done before. But do take caution. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily on the wrong path. It just means that perhaps they are not ready yet for this new expression. For Capricorn risings and Capricorn sun signs, the new moon on December 1st takes place in the 12th house. This is a new start for your spirituality, Capricorn. You might be getting some new ideas that you want to try out, new spiritual practices that you want to experience. You might be getting more adventurous in that area of your life. And in general, you might be finding a lot more fulfillment, a feeling of purpose when you are spending time alone, when you're spending time doing these spiritual practices. Do keep in mind that because the moon is out of bounds on December 1st, others might hear of your spiritual practice and they might find it super weird. They might even try to sort of distance themselves from you because they think that's a bit strange. But please don't let that impact you too much, because this is a beautiful flourishing and a new chapter for your spiritual practice. Next up, we have Aquarius rising and Aquarius sun signs. And for Aquarius, the new moon will be happening in the 11th house. So you might be having new experiences with your friends, maybe even joining a new friend group, and that friend group is just like very different from what you're used to. And you might find that you feel much more fulfilled, you feel a sense of meaning and purpose when you hang out with your friends or with this community. This is very much a relational house, and you want to be careful during this new moon not to become too dogmatistic, not too stuck on your opinions or beliefs to the point where you forget that the people you're talking to at the end of the day are also just human, no matter what they believe. And finally, we have Pisces rising and Pisces sun signs. And for Pisces, the new moon takes place in the 10th house. Pisces might be having new adventures in their career, in their workspace. And specifically, you might also be getting some really new inspired ideas as to how you can shift your career, how you can advance, how you can make things more aligned to yourself, even if that doesn't necessarily mean advancing up the ladder. Keep in mind that because the moon is out of bounds, people at your workspace might find it a little bit difficult to deal with you during this time. They might especially find that your ideas are quite out there. quite unique, maybe too unique, and they might not be ready for that yet. And finally, I will give one more word of caution, Pisces. With the sign of Sagittarius in your 10th house, be very careful not to be so blind to uphold a certain ideal, a certain belief, a certain way that things should be done, that at the end of the day, you forget that the people you're talking to, the people you're dealing with, are just the same as you, are people with needs and feelings. Thank you so much for joining me for another new moon horoscope. Overall, I hope you're excited for this new moon in Sagittarius. I do think it is going to be an invigorating new moon. Take note of the ideas that you have popping up during this time. They might feel out of this world. They might feel a bit strange, but they might be starting something important for you. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you can catch the next full and new moon horoscopes. And I already posted a new moon meditation for this Sagittarius new moon, and you can catch it right here. Thanks again, and I hope to see you again soon.